Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And we are now in Advent. Yesterday we talked about St. Andrew because his feast day fell on that first Monday in Advent. Today we are right into the lectionary itself and taking a look at one of the lessons that's actually appointed for morning prayer, and that is from the Gospel of St. Mark. Now, we haven't really done much of St. Mark's Gospel in these daily meditations, but it's interesting because each of the character of the Gospels are a reflection of the writers, obviously. Mark, Matthew, Luke, John, each of them are very different people, and they come from different circumstances. And so it is that is reflected in their Gospels, and not only in the way that they write them, but the audience to whom they are writing it. We know that Matthew and John were apostles, and we know that Luke and Mark were writing down the Gospel as they were hearing that account from other people. Mark is believed to have spent time with St. Paul, but primarily he is writing down the Gospel as he has received it from St. Peter himself. And in some ways, St. Mark's Gospel seems like a good reflection of who St. Peter is, because we think of Peter as the simple fisherman. Simon Peter was, as we heard yesterday with the readings for St. Andrew's Day, he's Andrew's older brother. And I'm laughing because usually it's the other way around. Everybody says Andrew is Simon's brother. We'll give Andrew some credit, say he's Simon's brother, or Simon's his brother. But we know that the attitude of Peter is one where he seems to be almost a bit of a impulsive and sometimes bumbling person. One minute he's saying the right thing and Jesus is commending him. The next minute he's saying something and Jesus is saying, "Get thee behind me, Satan." And of course we know he denies knowing Jesus 3 times after the Last Supper. And of course Jesus restores him after the resurrection and becomes the great leader Peter does in the church. That gospel, as reflected by Mark, is one that is a bit simpler in the sense that whereas John's is deep and theological, because John is writing it later and has had time to pray about it and to see the way in which the gospel is affecting the communities that he's interacting with, and Matthew and Luke are a little bit more descriptive in the sense that they describe the situation of what they're going through, and why it is that certain things are being used, because their audience includes Gentiles and Jews. Mark is kind of reflective of who St. Peter is, which is straight to the point. There's not a whole lot of flowery extra language, and for that sense, it's the shortest of the 4 Gospels. It does not have an infancy narrative. We don't know anything about the birth of Jesus. Now, of course, Matthew and Luke both contain infancy narratives, and John gets right with the theological beginning, with what's known as the prologue. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Mark just jumps right into the public ministry of Jesus. And not that I don't think he probably didn't know those stories. I think the decision was that he would, like Peter, just get right to work and describing the gospel. And the lesson assigned for today is we're in the first chapter, beginning at verse number 14. And he goes on, and again, no flowery language, not overly descriptive. John was put in prison. Jesus came into Galilee preaching the gospel of the kingdom of God, saying the time is fulfilled and the kingdom of God's at hand. Repent ye and believe in the gospel. And as he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And Jesus said, "Come ye after me, and I will make you fishers of men," much like Matthew's gospel. Remember, Matthew, Mark, and Luke are considered synoptic gospels because of the similarities between them in their syntax and in their order. And straightway they forsook their nets and followed him. And then he got a little further. It's James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, who were also in the ship mending their nets. And straightway he called them, and they left their father Zebedee and went after him. Again, just straight to the point. Here they are. Who's what they're doing? Boom. Come and follow me. And then they went to the Capernaum. And straightway on the Sabbath day they entered the synagogue and taught. And they are astonished at his doctrine, for he taught as one with authority, and not as the scribes. And there was within the synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, saying, "Let us alone. What have ye to do with thee, thou Jesus of Nazareth? Art thou come to destroy us? I know thee who thou art, the Holy One of God." And Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Hold thy peace, and come out of him." And when the unclean spirit had torn him, and cried with a loud voice, he came out of him. And they were all amazed, insomuch that they questioned among themselves, saying, "What thing is this? What new doctrine is this? For with authority commandeth he even unclean spirits, and they do obey him." And immediately his fame spread abroad throughout all the region. round about Galilee. So what a great Haran start we're off to, right? First, we heard yesterday the interaction with John the Baptist and John's introduction of who Jesus is. Now Jesus is right into calling disciples and teaching with authority, right? He is amazing them in the synagogue. And also he is actually commanding the demons to come out. Notice something interesting. The demons recognize him. They know who he is. You're the Holy One of Israel. And, even the demons know who Jesus is. The difference is, of course, is they don't worship him. They don't love him. They don't follow him. But they know who he is. They know he's Lord. And, of course, that's offensive to them. So, anyway, we're looking forward to the next couple of days. So looking at Mark's gospel, having gone all the way through Luke and Matthew's gospel with some depth, it'll be interesting to see how Mark gets much more quickly to the point and how that different emphasis helps us. So here we are, Advent. I hope that you're getting a good start, and I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. May God bless you.